Meghan Markle's carefully curated public persona may be facing its biggest challenge yet, as reports suggest that the Duchess of Sussex has reacted strongly to a scathing critique of her Netflix documentary On The View. Known for her emphasis on personal storytelling, empowerment, and championing her own narrative of being misunderstood and silenced, Meghan has found herself at the center of an intense debate. Sources claim that Meghan, who is no stranger to controversy, was furious after the show's panel tore into her Netflix series, allegedly exclaiming, "I hate that show." But was this response truly unexpected? For years, Meghan has built her public image around a narrative of victimhood, an individual who has been unfairly treated by both the royal family and the media, despite living a life of luxury that most can only dream of. The View's panelists, however, didn't buy into this portrayal, dissecting Meghan's carefully crafted image with brutal honesty. They pointed out how her Netflix documentary, meant to shed light on her life and struggles, was riddled with inconsistencies and exaggerated claims. The panelists accused Meghan of portraying herself as a powerless victim, overshadowed by both the royal family and the relentless media. But is this really the whole story? What stands out in the critique is how Meghan often selectively narrates her experiences. She paints a picture of a royal family that abandoned her, but critics on The View were quick to point out the glaring contradiction. After all, Meghan and Prince Harry enjoyed a lavish royal wedding funded by British taxpayers, lived in an opulent royal estate, and had access to privileges beyond most people's wildest dreams. With all these privileges, how can Meghan claim she and her husband were abandoned by the royal family? It's a compelling argument, and one that leaves many questioning Meghan's narrative. But the inconsistencies don't end there. Another major point raised by The View was Meghan's contradictory stance on privacy. On one hand, she constantly claims to want a private life, free from the scrutiny of the media. Yet, on the other hand, she continues to share intimate details of her life through tell-all interviews, documentaries, and books. If privacy were genuinely her goal, why does she continue to broadcast her grievances to the world? This contradiction didn't go unnoticed by the View panel, who wasted no time in pointing out the hypocrisy in Meghan's repeated desire for privacy while profiting off her personal story. But the critique went further. The View argued that Meghan's Netflix documentary, instead of offering a balanced perspective, focused predominantly on her alleged suffering. According to the panel, this constant portrayal of Meghan as a tragic heroine, while vilifying the royal family, created an image that was one-sided and failed to address any significant issues. They suggested that both Meghan and Harry had the opportunity to choose reconciliation and dignity, but instead opted to capitalize on their grievances, turning their complaints into a multimillion-dollar industry. What makes this situation even more interesting is how Meghan's image, once carefully constructed to position her as a compassionate and misunderstood figure, is now being called into question. Despite her best efforts to position herself as an emerging power player in Hollywood, Meghan's reputation is reportedly starting to take a hit. Industry insiders describe her as increasingly difficult to work with, citing her controlling nature and obsession with managing her public image. Meghan, it seems, is more focused on maintaining her narrative than establishing herself as an influential figure. What's most telling is the impact of her Netflix series. Intended to cast her in a sympathetic light, it has instead only intensified doubts about her credibility. Meghan's intense response to The View's criticism reveals just how much she understands the shift in public perception. Sources claim that Meghan's outburst after the broadcast highlights her growing awareness that her image isn't resonating as it once did. Far from portraying her as a victim of the royal family, the documentary may have only reinforced the perception that Meghan Markle is not simply a victim, but rather someone adept at crafting her image to garner sympathy and attention. The backlash from The View isn't just about one critique. It marks a larger trend of Meghan's public persona being questioned more widely. While many once sympathized with her as a victim of royal mistreatment, increasingly, people are starting to see through her carefully constructed narrative. Meghan's focus on playing the victim, her self-promotion, and the contradictions in her actions are all factors contributing to the changing tide of public opinion. The question now is, will Meghan be able to pivot and regain control of her image, or is her carefully built narrative starting to unravel in front of our eyes? This ongoing drama seems far from over, and Meghan Markle's next steps will undoubtedly be closely scrutinized. Will she try to win back the public's favor? Or will she double down on her narrative of victimhood? One thing is clear. The royal drama is far from finished, and with every new revelation, the stakes only get higher.